Hi, my name is Loretta Vanderveer, and this is my presentation on reputation management and public relations. Reputation management has changed a great deal in the past decade. There has been an increase in global public relations, the rise of social media use with sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Vine, Instagram, and the reinvent of MySpace. Organizations and individuals have to consider how to protect their organization against internal and external threats that could eventually cause ruin to the organization. My thesis is that reputation management in public relations is the most important element of the practice, and it creates a barrier against competitive threats and sets the tone for the way an organization is received by the public. In 2013, Paula Deen made a statement in a deposition that caused her entire brand to be ruined in a matter of a month. She made several statements which included her admitting using racial slurs and desiring to have times be as they were during slavery. The statements were made during the deposition, so they automatically became public record, and they were available to all media outlets and whoever wanted to see them. The filing against the lawsuit against Deen and her companies should have signaled a crisis against her company, and that an issue was not only on the horizon but was kind of at her doorstep. The videotape deposition actually shows her using the N-word, and that was a major sign of a problem to her that she didn't necessarily pick up on. Smithfield Foods, the Food Network, Walmart, Kmart, and Caesars Entertainment all dropped her, and it was not until then that she hired a crisis management team to help her with her reputation. Had she properly handled it, she could have requested a gag order before she went into the deposition, or she could have issued a statement prior to that, kind of to calm the seas, or she could have issued a non-edited apology, which she did once everything came out. Reputation is the sum of expectations that the public places on future behavior of an agent or institution based on the public's direct or indirect experiences. Reputation is something that often precedes us and can be extremely hard to alter. Once the public has an opinion, the only way to change it is to either do something dramatic or to make progressive changes over time, and that works for the good and the bad. If you have a great reputation, you can either completely destroy that in a matter of minutes, such as Paula Deen, or you can just slowly make bad decisions that kind of chip away at the company's credibility, and over time, they lose their brand. Or you can, if your brand is one that's looked at negatively, you can do something and make people forget about what they thought about your organization, a month ago, or you can, slowly make changes, and at the end of the day, all of the things that you've done, they could potentially be forgiven. I would argue that reputation is the most important goal of any public relations program, and is one of the most valuable because it promotes consumer preference. No matter what the public relations goals are, I feel like the number one goal is about perception. Usually organizations or people are trying to get the public to look at them in a certain light, or to buy a product based on a certain idea that fits into their organization. So no matter what the specific goals are, the main goal is having something to do with their reputation. So I honestly feel like this is something that you can't really get away from, and that's what makes it so important. And it can be extremely hard for people to find an organization to be loyal to, and often it comes down to reputation, and that's what creates preference. Being able to market a client as the best choice, or a product as a premium product is a major benefit of a strong reputation. For it, in my paper, one of the examples that I used was Tom's and how they have their one-for-one campaign, and there are 1,000 different tennis shoe companies or sneaker companies that create a basic canvas sneaker that you slip your foot in, but people choose to buy this basic canvas sneaker that you slip your foot in for $50 over the one that's $10, because there's a meaning behind the shoe with Tom's. You're buying your shoe and it's giving it to someone else, and people like the idea of being able to help, and the mentality and the reputation that the Tom's company has. So they're offering something to people that they like, and that's why they choose to spend more money on it. The most important benefit of having a strong reputation is that stakeholders will support an organization or individual through times of crisis. It's inevitable that throughout the life of an organization they'll face a crisis. The reputation plays a large role in how the threat is received, handled, and how the public responds. People are willing to forgive an organization that has made a mistake, but always puts their best foot forward otherwise. If there's an organization that continually makes mistakes, people kind of look at them as just a bad company or just a bad person. But if it's one mistake, people are always willing to give a second chance if the organization is willing to admit that they were wrong. During my paper, I used the example of Josh Shaw. He's a USC football player who got in trouble with the law, and he made up a story saying that he saved his nephew from drowning in a swimming pool, when the true story was that he had snuck out of his apartment and fell and hurt his ankle. And he allowed for the public relations team of USC to come out and defend him and say that he was a hero, when in reality he was making everything up. And he was eventually suspended from the team, later to be reinstated, but it kind of tarnished the way that people looked at him. They believed him at first because his personality never led them to believe that he would be lying about anything. So people were really quick to defend him, and also very quick to forgive him, because people make mistakes, and when they're scared they might, make up a story, and that's kind of the benefit of the doubt that they gave him, which is a testament to how people can forgive you if your character is one that shows it should be forgiven. Reputation management is a continuing process of how an organization seeks to influence the way its public views and understand the organization. Starts with tracking and identifying what others say and what they feel about an organization. It then focuses on maintaining that reputation with key publics. And you build a reputation by having a mission statement. It's important for an organization to know where they're going and what their goals are, and then that way people will always have a standard to hold them to. When an organization doesn't have a mission statement, they're just kind of a free-for-all, and it makes it really hard to have any type of reputation, because people don't know what you're trying to offer or what your end game is. Another really important part of building a reputation is to be consistent. Putting out the same message repeatedly and letting people know that every time they approach your company or every time they approach you as a person, they're going to get a consistent message. That really helps people choose you as the best offer and as the best option. So that's really important in building a reputation. And the last is being ethical. Knowing that what you're doing is right and isn't out to harm or to be malicious. That really makes people want to be a part and associate with the organization. So, in a lot of instances, like we have cases like Enron where they're not ethical and people are harmed all the time and are still recovering from that situation. They'll never be able to recover or rebuild their reputation because of something that wasn't ethical, you're always going to be looked at as someone who ignores rules or bends rules, and no one wants to invest in anything like that or even be associated with it. And after you build your reputation, the most important step is to maintain that reputation, and this is kind of where it can become hard. You aid in reputation maintenance by looking at external and internal risks, and you do that by assessing those external and internal risks. And you basically do that by looking at anything that can be a threat to your company. If there is, you know, a legal issue, or you have a leader who flies off the handle. For instance, American Apparel is constantly in the news because their leader is kind of someone that is a little bit more loose with his words, and so they're always facing lawsuits and things like that, and those are things you have to check as an organization, because they can blow up and turn into a nightmare for your company, and it's really hard to undo those thoughts once they're already put in with the public. You also have to prepare for your crisis, which is also assessing those risks and then making sure that the people around you are able to handle something once a crisis hits. So that means having a spokesperson, having the proper material to go out, and just knowing who to call and who's in charge when it comes down to a crisis, because all of those moments are extremely critical when there's an issue happening. Another part in maintaining reputation is trust. People have to know that if there is a mistake, it wasn't intentional, and if it was intentional, that it will never happen again. Trust with an organization is just the same as trust with anyone that you would talk to. If I'm giving you my money or my time or my investment, I expect that you're being honest back with me, and if not, then that's something that you kind of almost can't get back. So it's important to just build your company on that and stick with it, and then if something does happen, your stakeholders will trust you. The next issue is communication and transparency. When there is an issue, companies have a tendency to be quiet and not say anything, act like it's not happening, and just leave stakeholders reeling and wondering what's going on. But that's not always the issue. That's not always the way you handle it. Sometimes you want to issue an apology, and it has to be genuine, and what you're saying has to be real, because people feel that and they want to connect to it. They're almost more forgiving if you do apologize and it is real, because everyone understands people make mistakes, and you want to make sure that the information that you're giving is correct. A lot of times when there is an issue and companies wait too long to say anything about it, there's an information void, and people will tend to fill it, and what they're filling it with might not be the proper facts. So it's really important to know when to communicate with people and how transparent to be, because you never want to be so transparent that you put your company in danger. And the next is issues management. All the time you can't stop information from getting to the public, but issues management is one of those things where you assess which ones you can. There are a lot of times where things happen internally that never reach the light of day, and if they did, it would probably cause a lot more harm, but because it was able to be stamped out, it was solved, and that's the best way to solve it. So I think the main goal in reputation management is in issues management, and a lot of the things that happen you want to stop before they even become public knowledge. And the last is offer value. When you offer something to someone and you're the best, and hands down, no doubt, it's really hard for people not to forgive you. So when there is an issue, if you're the best, or if people really, really like your product, or they really, really like you as a person, and you have value to them, you are often forgiven, because people they need you almost. So it's important for an organization to put their footsteps as someone that people need and as a valuable part of their industry, and that also really helps with maintaining your reputation and making sure that if something does happen that you'll be forgiven. For reputation repair, a part of this I already mentioned, but it's important to respond in the proper amount of time. You definitely don't want to leave room for people to speculate, but you also can't kick every barking dog, so it's about finding a balance and showing discretion on what you argue about and what you don't. So when there is an issue, you don't want to leave your stakeholders hanging, so you want to make sure that they have the right amount of information from the proper source in the right amount of time, and usually this will help an organization rebound from anything that's happening. So in conclusion, looking at history, the past and the future of public relations, it's apparent that reputation management is becoming a focal point in public relations. People's reliance on the internet as a source of information, there's a chance to ruin someone's reputation in a matter of minutes. In the end, reputation management is a critical aspect of public relations and will grow as a necessity as the world becomes smaller and everyone and everything becomes more accessible. And that is my presentation. Thank you for watching.